there. You're listening to the Girl Talk Podcast. My name is Carol.
I'm Kelly.
Hey, I'm Trisha, and we want to say thanks to Compassion International for sponsoring this season of Girl Talk Podcast. And we want to tell you about Compassion International. They release children from poverty in Jesus' name, and they do that by partnering with local churches and this child sponsorship relationship. And there are so many kids who are living in extreme poverty right now who need a sponsor. I want to introduce you to one of them, Elias. Oh, he is so precious. Just looking at his picture, he's from Nicaragua. Elias is 5 years old, and he loves running and jumping and playing marbles. I'm like, that's just like my little boys. When they were that age, they loved to do that. Sweet Elias needs a sponsor to be able to get all of the medical treatment and also the spiritual aspect, knowing that someone loves him in the name of Jesus, and then then his family hears about Jesus. It's an amazing evangelism tool that's one child at a time. And if this is something that is just striking your heart, maybe you think you could bring Elias into your household, please go take a look at the children who are waiting for sponsors right now. You can do that by going to thelightfm.org/Girl Talk and then click on the Compassion banner. You can see all of the beautiful children who need sponsors right now, including Elias. And would you pray for him? That would be great. Thank you so much for considering that.
I'm so tired. How many times have you heard that in conversation over the last little bit?
Did you say heard it or said it?
Yeah, I've heard it in my head.
Heard it
my
and
gosh.
said it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am so tired.
Several times today already,
I
I've
think
said that.
everybody finds themselves in a place of tiredness. So I have to ask this question, and y'all probably going to throw things at me when I do, but do you feel like you have margin in your life?
Define margin
I'm glad you
in every
asked.
way.
Right. That is the space between your load and your limit. Is there space between your load and your limit?
I think for me, it depends on the day. I mean,
Yeah.
to be completely honest, I think I do a good job of protecting my weekends during the week, and it depends on the week. Some weeks I have zero margin. I am running from one thing to the next, and then there's other days, other weeks that I find I've got lots of empty space and downtime to do things. And I actually like to have a full schedule. For me, that brings me joy because I love the things that I do.
Yeah.
But I don't have the emotional margin that I want. That physical margin in my
different
time
things.
and in my schedule, I absolutely have some physical margin. In my head, I do not have any emotional margin. I cannot take on anything else to think about.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes and no.
Yes and no. Okay. What about for you?
No and no. I have zero. I don't have any margin.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have any margin now. And it's also this time of the year is particularly busy.
Sure. Yeah.
For the season of life that I'm in. But I don't have margin, and part of the reason I don't is because I don't allow myself margin.
Yeah.
I mean, I fill in every open slot in my schedule until I fall over like Garfield. Like I'm done. I just fall over face
Into
first.
a plate of lasagna like Garfield?
Well, nachos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
But seriously, I go until I can't go, and then I just stop. But it's not. I'm not recommending that. That's a very bad thing, actually. But I know myself. Sometimes I fill up my plate with no margin because I don't want to feel.
Oh.
Yeah. That was the second question I was going to ask. Why do you think you don't have margin?
Okay, we're gonna talk about
Scared.
your margin. We just
Scared
skipped
of it.
right
Okay.
over you.
Yeah,
Given
yeah.
You have margin,
I've
Carol Davis.
actually been on this journey. It's been probably 4 or 5 years ago now, but I read this book called Finding Spiritual White Space.
That
Sounds so nice.
It is, and she goes through her own journey to kind of find that. And basically, the analogies that she makes is that the white space in art is what makes art beautiful.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Never
the
thought about that.
art itself is enhanced by the white space that's around it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I bought this huge canvas. And I hung it on my wall, and it drove my parents crazy. I can't tell you the number of times they offered me a picture to hang on that wall. But I hung that there as a visual reminder to me to find that white space in my life. And so I've been on a journey for 4 or 5 years. I will say I have more white space now, or more margin now than I have probably my whole adult life. And part of that is I know my limits, and part of that is I'm terrible at knowing my limits. So I will say that it's me making a conscious choice to say no to some things.
Such a holy word, that word no.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's true.
And I think part of it too is knowing what the real source of your weariness is, because I think we talk about being tired, and a lot of people just use that as a blanket phase for I'm busy. Okay. Part of tired could be you didn't, if you have a newborn, your tired is different than my tired, because your tired is that you were up with a baby all night, right?
My if you had a toddler in Brian and Shelby's case.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, my tired might be my dog kept me up all night. But whatever it is, I think you have to start at that place of finding out what the real source of your weariness is. Because like you said, sometimes you feel that schedule to keep from feeling things. And I think that's where it gets to be dangerous. And probably what led me to the place to read that book and to kind of do that work, because it's hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard work to figure out what your limits are. I'm better than I used to be about knowing my limits and stopping before I get there, but I'm not always willing to admit my limits. Does that make sense? There's a difference in knowing your limit and admitting your limit.
So are you more worried about, or not, maybe not worried about is not the right phrase, but more focused on your physical white space or your mental white space?
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do you think they go hand in hand?
Yeah, for me, I don't know that they do for everybody, but for me, yes, they do. Because I find when I take better care of myself physically, I feel better mentally, and then I'm more able to say no to things. So for me, they do work hand in hand.
So it's almost like not even, and maybe even for the both of you, some of that physical space you're filling with things that then help you with your mental space. So you're filling it with tennis, you're filling it with exercise, going to the gym, in order to help yourself have more mental white space and more mental capacity by making sure that you're staying physically active.
Kind of, yes. I mean, so I think
it's so cute how you did your nose. I'm sorry.
I think you have to be you have to be careful at saying. Definitely, one leads to the other. Exercise is good for you, and it gets you in a better mental place. That's been proven by science. So I'm not saying that that's not the case, but I think you can go. I can go overboard going to the gym, and that become like a as much of a hindrance to my white space as
sure.
So
that's a good point.
For me, it's been a balance, and I'm learning more about. It's so sad that it's taken me almost 53 years to figure out who I am, and I don't even really know yet. But I'm working towards that and figuring out what is it that refills my batteries, and what is it, because I am also another person who cannot just take time off with no real plan in place.
Structure.
I don't do that. I don't do that well. So I think it's a balance. It's definitely a balance. What about you?
100% true for me that it is a balance, because certainly tennis as my main exercise form is fun and healthy. But when I spend all my time doing that and then thinking about the next one and then trying to improve and then filling my thoughts with this or that game or what went well, what didn't go well, it's way too exhausting. So you can take anything and make it problematic. Even good things can become problematic. I think our pastor said an idol or whatever is when you take a a good thing and make it a God thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly have done that in a lot of ways with even healthy things like exercise. And I'm in the place in my life right now where I'm trying to understand myself better. I think I'm not where you are, but I'm maybe hopefully in that direction, because I'm starting to take a good hard look at my life and how I'm feeling it and what I'm spending my time on, and is that what I want to be remembered for? Is that what I want my legacy to be? When I'm done, when I want to look back and go, well, I'm glad I spent all that time on the tennis court. No, that's not what I want. And I'm glad I don't want to be tired all the time. I don't want my kids to say, oh, mom's tired all the time. Mom's tired again. Mom's tired again. I don't want that to be what I'm remembered for either. So I'm taking a hard look right now at how I'm filling my time and why I'm filling my time that way. And a lot of it has been escapism. A lot of it has been, I would rather think about this thing than have free time, so then I feel this feeling. So what I'm trying to do now is being brave and feeling the feeling so I don't have to run away from it. But I think that's part of what makes me fatigued, what makes me tired, is that I'm running away from my feelings.
Well, part of the reason why I asked the question is that I think oftentimes we hear the phrase, I'm so tired, and what do we think is the solution for that? And sometimes it's to sit still. Well, sometimes it might be to sit still. Sometimes it might be to move your body because that's going to help, or to spend time. For me, with creativity, building pottery, or maybe
filling
it's
your
that
cup.
What you're really tired from is could be solved by spending some time with some really good girlfriends. Playing some board games. So it's not necessarily I'm tired, sit and do nothing.
Right.
Though when you're tired physically, but especially mentally, sometimes sitting is when you can do the best processing and not, like you said, run from your emotions and actually feel the things that God wants you to feel, that, you need to think, you need to process through.
Along that line, I remember our pastor said something that made a lot of sense to me about getting rest. And it's, if you're tired physically, then you maybe want to do something mentally. If you're tired mentally, then maybe you want to do something physically. That's a way to think about rest.
Yeah, that's good balance. Yeah. I like that concept that both of you talked about with balance, because that's
that's what we need.
So good. It's exactly what we need. We've talked about it before, but Rebecca Lyons has written that book, Rhythms of Renewal, that we all have read and love. And she talks about the 4 rhythms, which I won't remember all of them, but the rhythm of rest, the rhythm of creativity is probably a different word for that. The rhythm of, fellowship and community. And then the work. Is it work? The rhythm of work.
I don't remember.
Anyway, I think it's probably work. That would make sense. And just making sure that all 4 of those things are balanced in your life. That you're not overdoing one or the other.
And underdoing
a
different one.
Different one. That you are getting the right amount of rest. You're getting the right amount of time for creativity. You're getting the right amount of fellowship with, other believers and community and work.
And I'm going to make a statement here and see if you agree with it. Culture does not celebrate margin.
No. That's
I totally
certainly
agree
the
with that.
case. That's the case.
Yes.
We live in a culture where if your schedule's not full, you're not doing what you should. We live in a culture that says the more things that are on your calendar, the more important you are. The more text messages you get in a day, the more likes, the more follows that you have. That makes you more significant.
The more people depend on you.
The more people depend on you. They need me. And that's one of the dangers, I think, of these devices we carry around in our pockets all the time, is that we don't have any time away from that to do the hard work, to process, to do those things. So what do you think we can do as believers to encourage each other in this margin conversation, and making us aware of it, and to making a point to have some?
I think we need to celebrate each other's margin. And exactly like what you said, culture says, you got margin, you must be lazy or insignificant. But we can say to our circle of influence, you got margin, good for you. I'm proud of you. I want to do that too.
Yeah. Flip the narrative. Yeah.
Well, everything that God tells us is opposite from A lot, well, not everything, but a lot of things are opposite from the culture.
Yes.
So, and he calls us to Sabbath.
Yeah.
He calls us to rest. So he knows we need it. This is not
Jesus
surprising
himself
him.
rested.
Yeah. Napping in the boats and all
That's
that.
right.
But yeah, we need to follow that example and celebrate each other when we follow that example.
Yeah. Why are you giggling?
I'm just thinking about Jesus taking naps and eating snacks.
Naps and snacks, man.
You know,
That's not the King James version.
Is
though.
it not?
Naps
The
and snacks.
message.
Naps and snacks.
Maybe
The
so.
message says nachos.
Probably.
Yes.
Probably. But if Jesus needed it,
Yeah.
who was fully God and fully man,
Yeah.
who needed rest, then what makes you and I think that we don't? But I think the beginning of the conversation has to be, what is the source of your weariness? Because everybody realizes they're tired. Some of us need a nap. You know, I go back to Elijah, and when, you know, he's seen the greatest feat, and the prophets of Baal defeated, and very next thing he's like, I want to die.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
God said, go to sleep. Here's a snack. Go to sleep. Here's a snack.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the weariness is we need to go to sleep and we need a snack, preferably nachos and Trish's
Yes.
case. But sometimes we need to run into the arms of a loving Father to help us deal with the emotions that we're feeling.
Yeah.
And I'll say there is an emotional fatigue that we haven't touched. We kind of said feelings, and I think that's what you mean by emotional fatigue, that you can be in intense situations or things that require a lot from you, and then you need to withdraw. But I don't think people know really the concept of Sabbath is fairly new to a lot of people. They're like, I know that that's a very Christian word or a very biblical word, but I really don't know what it means. I can remember when I was a kid, a lot of restaurants were still closed on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And
Stores.
I don't remember
mall.
that being like everybody saying it's the Sabbath, we're going to close. But that was the thinking behind.
Right.
Now
Everybody needs rest.
tables have turned, you know, and Chick-fil-A gets a bunch of punches for not being open on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Because they've maintained that part of their and
That and because we love our
Well,
Jesus
that.
chicken and we
Christian
and you want it
chicken.
more on Sunday
Right.
than any other day.
That's right.
It's
Because we
100%
can't
true.
have it.
That's right.
But good for Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
Yes.
Stand firm.
We
Chick-fil-A.
celebrate you.
But,
Yes, we celebrate you.
but
and
there's
your margin.
pressure there, I'm sure.
for
I would
sure.
like to know how many
Ton.
times they've actually had meetings and said,
Yeah.
we're missing a lot of business on Sunday. Think we should open? You know, I mean, I'm sure there's been those
They've
conversations.
had
Yep.
that.
It's good to
They've
have those
had to
conversations
address
and
it.
reaffirm your
Yeah.
commitment to staying closed.
Yeah.
I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about how they celebrate Sabbath, and they start. I think they said they start on Friday night at sundown, and they go to Saturday night at sundown, and they begin their Sabbath with a celebration.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. What
I
kind
like
of
it.
celebration?
Their community comes together, and they basically have dinner together and talk about the goodness of God and how they've seen Him work that
Ooh,
week.
I like it.
And then they put their phones away for an entire day.
Uh-huh.
They spend time outside. They go for walks as a family. They spend time together as a family. They try not to turn the TV on. I mean, they spend a whole 24 hours really focusing and reflecting on the goodness of God and really being quiet before Him and what He wants to do. And it was amazing to me that they were talking about over the lifetime of their family, how many hours or days or whatever they'd spent in Sabbath. And the difference that it makes in people who still observe Sabbath, they live longer.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Oh.
They're
Uh-huh.
people who
happier
healthier,
people.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just live longer. They have a
Why
higher
do we-
quality of life.
We want that. I mean,
Right.
I hear all of us. We're all like, oh,
I know. My whole body was like, I
me
had a
too.
physical reaction of like, oh, I yearn for that.
we
Yeah.
want it, but why
Yes.
don't we do it?
I think
Because it's countercultural. And it's
Countercultural.
hard to,
Yeah.
it's really hard to buck the cultural rhythms.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, anytime you do, you're going to take a fair amount of ribbing. I'll use my own personal cell phone as a example
Oh,
because it's still black and white. You know, this is probably I want to say this is probably the longest I've left it that way. I did have to turn on the color the other day to look at something on Amazon. And so I wasn't sure what I was buying. I was like, I better look at the color on this. And so I looked at the color, and then I just immediately turned it back off. It just wasn't, I was like, no,
That's
it's
great.
too much. And so I've kept that, and my screen time has gone down tremendously in that
It's
time.
good for you. We should celebrate you instead of making fun of
Celebrating.
you.
Yeah, you
'Cause
should, but y'all are going to give me a hard time because that's what you
Yeah.
do. But I will say, when you go against what culture is doing, there's something, and I don't know what it is. I can't name it, but there's a pressure there that you feel. I guess it's fear of missing out, the FOMO that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that people are like, and I, when I went off social media, I had that a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm going to miss out on everything. And honestly, there have been some things that I've missed out on.
Yeah,
There
sure.
have been. But I'm like, man, I feel so much better.
Yeah. And it's worth it.
Like how
it's
much
so much
time you save.
Yeah, it's worth it
Yes.
to have that
Yes.
headspace instead of the, always getting to participate in all the things.
But I will also tell you this, that God will start to point out things in you because you start feeling like, hey, I'm off social media. Hey, my phone's black and white. Hey, all these things. And then God will start saying, okay, well, what about this right here? Let's talk about this right here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
That's
where's
why
my
I
social
run.
media?
Yeah, that's why I
right,
run,
yes,
run.
right. Yeah.
Because
And-
those thoughts can be very painful.
Yeah.
And also, people are not, we've reached a point in our world where people are not comfortable with sitting in silence.
Yeah.
We have to have a distraction.
Absolutely accurate. Absolutely. In
I mean,
any
just try
waiting
it.
room, in anything.
For 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Even.
5.
Like, start and just
Yeah.
see how awkward you feel in that 10 minutes. It's because we are constantly inundated with messages, with music, with conversation, with noise, just noise.
Yeah.
Like how many of you sleep with a sound machine?
Yep. White noise.
Right?
Yes. All three of us. Yeah.
Pink noise is actually better for you. So
Well, okay. I'll
scientific.
look
Is
into
it pink because it's girl talk color?
probably.
Is that
I
why?
like that.
So it's better for you. But we live in a culture that we don't know how to be quiet. We don't know how to be alone anymore. We don't know how to sit with
Still.
our thoughts.
Don't know how to be
Yeah,
still.
I think about that with my, son that I'm raising that has, always has his AirPods in, always got
yeah.
music going
100%.
on, always, he's flipping out today. He's texted me 14,000 times while we've been recording just this podcast, asking for more time on different screen things, including Spotify, so he can listen to his music. And
Yeah.
the answer is no.
So,
Enjoy the silence.
so if you're listening, the answer is no.
Sorry.
The answer is no, he doesn't
Yeah.
listen.
Well, and even the things that we watch, and kids especially, they're reels. They're not even,
Yeah.
we don't even watch shows anymore. We watch 15-second
Yeah.
reels and shorts and things like that. And this is how we feel all
got
the time.
2 minutes.
2
Yes.
minutes. Boom, boom, boom. And so no wonder we're exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Constant
And it's
hamster wheel.
amazing to me how much you can accomplish in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw somebody this morning in a reel build a whole wall of a fence in 15 seconds. I was like, oh, that's really fast.
Yeah.
So it's that
Yeah.
same.
Hurry up.
Thing.
On
Hurry.
to the
Go,
next
go.
thing. On to the next thing.
next.
On to the next
Yeah,
thing.
how can
And
we
you
be
should
more
be,
efficient?
you should be doing that.
Scroll, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Yep,
then-
and if you're not going fast, if you're not working hard, then
You're lazy.
You're lazy. What's your problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So let's celebrate margin, girls.
Yeah.
Yes.
And celebrate each other's space, white space.
So, what do you think is the step that we can take, kind of like the takeaway from today's podcast, that we can say, all right, here are some practical things that we can start doing today?
Ooh, here's one.
Okay,
Go buy a blank canvas and hang it on your wall. I like
that's
that.
so true.
Yeah.
It was such a good reminder for me in that season.
And maybe put a little tiny version, like, passport size thing of your picture to remind yourself, this is the white space around me.
Yep.
I like that.
And it
It's
makes
good.
me
I am
a
God.
more beautiful person.
I am God's workmanship.
Yes.
true.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I like that.
White canvas.
Well, one thing that we did recently start that has worked well for our family is a cell phone Sabbath
Yes.
on Sunday.
Beautiful.
Just a few hours because we got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
a few hours in the afternoon
And I
on
love
Sunday.
that you say that, because you do.
Yeah.
Don't try to do a whole week of Sabbath from your phone. Don't start that, because you're
Yeah.
going to get frustrated and you're not going to do it. Try it 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just try
Yeah,
5
yeah,
minutes.
Right.
Let's put it away for 30 minutes. Take a walk.
Oh, yeah. How many times do we just walk wherever we walk? We just have it in our hand.
Oh, I'm
We're just
listening
walking
to
it
something.
everywhere.
Yeah.
With
All
our
the
hands.
time. Taking pictures. My son's always taking snap pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
Leave it in your bedroom and don't touch it.
But on Sunday afternoon, the past 2 weeks, we've done this, and it has been just 2 hours. And the boys are like, "How much more time?" But we're doing it. We're doing it, and people are talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's groundbreaking.
Right.
People are like cooking things. Not me, but people are doing things.
It's probably good. They don't
it is
want
good.
food poisoning.
My husband's cooking.
Yeah.
That is good. But it really, when you take that away, you open yourself up to so much else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
including rest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll say this. I know you're going to roll your eyes because I've said it before, but go check your screen time. And then tell me, then we'll get back together and we'll talk about why you're tired.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Jeff about this earlier today. He was telling me about his evening routine. He was like, then I just scroll on my phone until I think I'm sleepy and then I put it away. I'm like, so you know that light from that screen is making you not sleepy, right? You know?
Yeah, it's
And
a
so
stimulant.
Just remember that. Yeah, that's put it away.
Should be 2 hours before bed, but I never follow through with that. But I try to do at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all are
Just-
better than me. I'm with Jeff.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'm
Thumbing
not
it?
with Jeff. I'm doing the exact same thing
Okay.
as Jeff. And then I look at my phone and then I go immediately to sleep.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
To
Okay.
get really terrible sleep.
All right. So anything else that you would add to the list?
No, we should probably go.
We should probably go.
Wrap it up.
Okay.
Oh, we want to say thank you to Compassion International, by the way, because they have sponsored
Yeah.
this season of Girl Talk. Don't we love them? We love
Yes.
what
We do.
Compassion does. We truly believe in it. Each of us have sponsored children because we truly believe in what they're doing, and you can be a part of it. If you don't have a sponsored child, I would encourage you. This is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Pray and ask
Yes.
God what He would have you do. Then go to thelightfm.org/Girl Talk. Then you'll see the Compassion banner. Click on that, and you will see these beautiful children, each and every one of them handmade by God, and they are needing a sponsor. They're in extreme poverty right now, and you could be the answer to their prayers. And if you can, take a look at Elias. He's from Nicaragua, 5 years old, still needs a sponsor. He is absolutely precious. Check out his smile. His smile is so adorable. And if nothing else, just pray for him. But maybe God's putting him on your heart. So check it out at thelightfm.org/Girl Talk Compassion.
Thank you so much for listening today. Email us if we can help you, girltalk@thelightfm.org, and we'll see you the next time we gather around these microphones for the next Girl Talk podcast.